So good evening. I welcome you to this week's Circle of Harmony. So basically, for those of us who are joining us for the first time, this is an initiative by livinglight.in. And the basic thing is that a lighter life is possible. And together, we have various sessions to explore how to go about it, how not to live, a life of heaviness if there is a possibility to explore it. And the Circle of Harmony is a step in the same direction, in which we get together once a week. There's a topic that we reflect on, and the idea is that usually we have a rigid thoughts. We feel that this has to be this way, and yet, like as we usually see in the circles, there are so many windows that one can look out. Like, say, if you're in a house and one window is overlooking a dustbin, you will say, oh my God, there's just, I don't know, trash outside. And the other window of the same house could be overlooking, say, a meadow, a beautiful garden. And that person would say, oh no, it's so beautiful, right? So there's both are right, and yet both would appear wrong to each other. And just to know that, there are so many windows that people look out for, or it just makes things more light. So, yeah. So I will share the poem that was written for this topic. And I apologize, there's some gathering today in my house, so there could be a bit of disturbance. So I apologize in advance. So, yeah. Yeah, and I just wanted to say before I begin that this is a circle. So everybody, there's no speaker, there is no listener. We are standing together. And the more we can share, it will be really nice, because the more we can, learn from each other. So thank you. So I'm assuming that we can all see the screen. So the topic today is unveiling, uncovering, revealing my limitations, fears, and apprehensions in life. I see mountains and raging seas between who I am and that which I want to be. I don't have to accept this potpourri. My images, opinions, personality that I fervently cling to and claim to be stops me from being the infinite, the seeds of which thrive inside of me. When I let go of my false certainties, I meet my expanse and my capability. I see I'm not the rigid, fabricated mass. I am ephemeral, and I am the eternity. Basic theme that came to me was that I want to be more, right? Like if that's why I think we aspire, that's why we surrender, because we feel that's why we hope, that because we feel that something is not okay, right? And we all have things that we aspire for, and yet we all also have things that stop us from reaching where we want to. And surprisingly, lot of times these things are hidden. I don't know, I know I want to be this, I really want to be this, and yet I am not able to be this. Why? So basically, just wanted to take this time today to share, get together and share the whys of why I think I stop myself. Usually I like to blame others or circumstances or life, but the closer, I don't know the first what word to use, but the more honest we are when we see facts, I always have a choice, and I might choose not to choose. So just reflecting on that together, because maybe by that reflection, when I know what's stopping me, maybe there's a possibility that I can, let go or not, but at least I know what's stopping me. So again, just about the poem, like if I, again, it's all my lived experience. So I see a lot, of potential, a lot of letting go of, from where I am. And yet my, like, I don't accept that, there's something that I want to do different, maybe, or be different. And why not? Like, why would I not be what I want to be, is what kind of came to me. And mostly it's because, it's like I have images of me, I have opinions about me and others and everything in life. I came across something which said that the word personality, the persona, that's the root of it. It basically means mask. I say, okay, this is my personality, or she has a good personality. I say it as a compliment, right? And yet, what it means is a mask. So with this name, this body, this character, I'm just wearing different masks, and from birth to death. Maybe I can be more. So again, these things that I feel I am stop me from being what I can be. And I think it was, I don't know, Rumi who said that, there's an artist inside you that you don't know about. And it's beautiful, right? Like, there is so much within me that I don't know about. And yet, because of my very stringent, usually, do's and don'ts, I don't even give myself a choice, right? An opportunity that, okay, let me see. I could be afraid of failures. I could be afraid of opinions. So, I think I've said enough. We'll go over the rest later, but maybe we can start, with some sharings of why we are here, why we like the topic, or if we can go dive, right into it, that I see I'm at point A. I know I want to be, it might not be a point B, but I know it, I want to be more. So what stops me? If we can start with that sharing, we can, or anything else that you have that you would like to share today. So anybody who's ready can unmute and share. Thank you. And thank you for some of you for keeping the videos on. It's really nice to see faces when you're talking. So I appreciate that. Welcome, Till. Welcome, Kalpana, for the first time. I guess you guys are here. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, I would like to share something about the same, what we read and what I reflected upon. So I have been feeling this actually for the past week, that, I want to do something more than what I do generally, but there's something stopping me. And I've been wondering what that is. And I think it's one of the things is because I overthink what is going to happen and the concept and the results of the action. So I'm quite comfortable not doing that thing. So sort of feeling safer to be in the comfort zone. So I don't have that push to sort of take that plunge. And I think what is behind that, it is sort of the fear to see what is on the other side, or like a fear of failure.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing, Meera. And it's, it's like the honesty really touches me. Both your mom also, whenever she shares, they're really straight from heart and so honest, because it's hard for one person to say that, I'm scared, I want to be safe. So thank you for that. And just, I would want to reflect with you here, if you will indulge me.
Sure.
Why don't we feel safe? Like, do we want to just sit on that for a minute? And I don't know if you want to, if you have anything for that, it's like, I am the child of the universe, right? That's what they say. And yet, of course, I take up identities. And again, I don't know, I just love Rumi, so apologize for that. But again, there's a Rumi quote, which says that, you know, And it's basically about death actually. But it's like, when I was from stone, I became, say a plant, from plant, say a mineral, like stone, mineral, plant, insect, and then animal and stuff. So why should I fear? Because when have I been less from dying, right? So when I look at my life, whenever I have failed is when I have, kind of woken up a bit more, right? Like, okay, life is hard, there is pain, I can be more. I have expanded a bit. When I have succeeded, it's good. When I have failed, if I'm honest and I see I have really learned. So, and if I'm scared of opinions and stuff, like sometimes what I do is, I know I wanted you to speak and I'm just kind of going on, but
Please.
when I have something that I'm scared about, when I, first of all, it's like that, I have to be answerable. It's like, say, God would say that this is the life I gave you. Why didn't you do it? So, what would I say? Oh, I would have thought what people were thinking, or what if I would have failed, or, like all the excuses. If I, I just take 2 minutes to have this visualization कि I'm standing in front of God, when I've left my body or whatever, and He's saying, why not? Like, why didn't you? And any reason that I say has never been good enough. Such a precious life, and we are so lucky, I'm assuming all of us here, to have healthy bodies, right? To have 2 legs, 2 feet, all the senses working nicely. And yet, if you'll allow me to use the word, we stick to stupid, silly things, right? Like if we actually see what the root of my fears is, it's not much most of the time. It's just that something I'm clinging to and something I'm scared of. So yes, so I'll stop and I'll please request you to speak a bit more on why we are scared and how can we be less scared.
Yeah, I guess so. And I thought about it the way you did. So I think that's the bigger picture when we want to. So I want to sort of take a decision and see like what what could go wrong. But at that moment, I think there's a lot of like, oh God, like what would happen and like what would happen if I fail? I'll have to start from scratch, like, so much done. So there's a lot of like overthinking that burdens me down. That prevents me from taking the plunge.
And the
Yeah.
funny thing is that when there's overthinking, we are kind of mostly digging a deeper hole, right? And yet, if we actually confront what I'm overthinking about, okay, so what if I fail? If do you want to walk through this in a situation, do you want to give me a situation, or this is okay?
No, yeah, I think we can do a situation.
So you tell me something that you want to do, but
Okay. Let's see, like, I want to change my profession or my job profile. And I have already a stable job and a profession that I'd studied for, but then now I want to completely change it. So that is the situation. And that is where, like, not right now, but in future, I would want to make a choice of to change.
And
So
why?
there's a lot of, yeah. So all my peers, for example, who had studied with me are in the same profession and they're doing well and whatever. And nobody has really done what I am going to do. So there's no really precedence for me to see what would happen. Yeah.
So nobody else has done it. So if I'm doing something that nobody else has done, does that excite me or does that scare me? Or both? Could be both, right?
Yeah, it's a both. Yeah.
It's like, when
So I know that I would be proud. Yeah.
yeah. So when I look back at
No,
my,
I know that. Sorry, please go
I'm
on.
sorry, I think your voice is breaking a bit for me. So somehow I feel, yeah, why don't you speak and I listen for some time?
Slow so that
Yeah.
you'll be able to hear properly.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? All right. Yeah. I was.
Maybe
Yeah. It's
the voice is breaking up. Maybe try turning off your video if that helps. I don't know the connection.
yeah. I have turned off the video now. Maybe it'll be better. Yeah, so I was saying that it's going to be, I mean, I feel like it'll be a bit of both, but I would know that I'll be proud of something, something that nobody has done. But there is the initial jerk, inertia, which I can't get through.
It's like this word safety. I was just saying that when I look back and there's some things which I didn't do because I wanted to be safe, I find that so boring now, and there were so many other things which I did, irrespective of whether they were safe or not. And I had so much fun, right? So again, if I have to define myself or how I lived myself, would I want to say, I played it safe? Or would I want to say I lived, right? Like I fell and I got up and, I don't know, like just if you think about it from the big picture, I think that really helps. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
And that, Hindi, there's a Hindi quote which says, "Ghur sawar hi girte hain maidane jang mein." I don't know if you know Hindi, but it basically means that,
Yeah, I do.
riding the horse, is the one who would fall. Otherwise, the spectators don't fall, right? So do I want to be a spectator of my life? Or do I actually want to sit on the horse and, have some fun and thrill? So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a.
I think that would make it a little.
Yeah. So Snehi has shared a quote. She says, "We only regret the chances we didn't take." Yeah. Thank you, Snehi. Anybody else who want to go? Yeah, yes, still.
Thank you for being in this group. That's point one. My life has been a road along. You cannot imagine how many fears, not just imagined, but really withholding fears that withheld me from, at the very last moment, having prepared anything, kept me from doing it. And thus I was thrown back in the situation before I was uplifted to try to do it. And I remember that one of the words of Mother I remember is that when you are consciously in your fear, it attracts your fear and then you can go through it. And if I think about all the dogs I've been afraid of, it entered when I had a dog of my own and it was my pet and I cherished it. And I could not imagine being afraid anymore. It was by flying, by aeroplane, anything, by driving a car, any movement. And now this afternoon, before I joined, I was in a crowdy situation and there came a kind of calmness over me because it was the third time I was there. It was much more crowded than the 2 times before. And yet I felt that the divine is carrying us all. So whenever I'm afraid for anything, I have to acknowledge for myself that it's a lack of confidence, but it's a lack of trust in the divine. And when I get the root of that fear, then I offer it inwardly and it just dissolves and I'm just standing there wherever I am. That's what I wanted to share.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you. My camera is a bit dark. That's due to the technique. So I will close it down, then it can recover and come back.
Okay, okay, thank you. It's so empowering to know that all the fears or, any apprehensions that I've had, they're mostly because, I've run away from them. I see something and it's scary, it hurts, it's painful, or, I'm scared. And instead of going closer to why am I scared, right? I just start walking in the opposite direction or start running in the opposite direction. And that just solidifies that state. So like, Till you so beautifully shared that when you acknowledge it, when you, like, first of all, the ability to even see it, that, oh, it's here again. Oh, it's here again. That really is like the first step to even know, because a lot of times one can just fall into panic, right? That I don't know what's happening, but, it's overwhelming. But to know when it's here, and it's like, I think we had read some quote from Khalil Gibran also last week, that when you see these unexpected visitors, invite them and sit with them and just, like you converse with a friend. It might sound stupid, but the people who have done it, they swear by it, that, okay, meeting your pain, meeting your fear, that yes, how can I help you? Like, what's the fear about? What are you all about? And they say that if you, actually, even in real life, if there's somebody you've never spoken to, you might think, I don't know what they are about. But once you know them, you know their dreams, their ambitions, where they are coming from, there's so much comfort you feel with them, right? Like, even say in a flight, if somebody's sitting next to you and you haven't spoken, there's a weird air. But the moment, even if you exchange two sentences, there's some trust, right? Then you're like, okay, no, I'm going to the washroom. Could you just look over and say my child? Some anything like that. So it's just that if I can stop running away, stand, pause, and just see that what is it there to tell me, like what is it, what does it want? And again, like you said, offering it again and again to whoever we believe in, that see, this is what I see, and I don't want it, right? I don't want to be this anymore. And yeah, thank you. Anybody, any comments on this or anything else that one would want to share, like fears, apprehensions, what stop us? How has anything, any process, any thought, any faith, how faith has helped us, or anything else? Thank you.
Yeah, may I speak, Taru?
Yes, please, Kalpana ji.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, just now, she mentioned something about the trust in the divine. Yeah, so I think, what is happening, what happens, I'm talking about my experience. I don't know if others have this experience. So when there is, when you confront something that you don't, when there's something you don't like or you fear something, there are apprehensions. You use this word apprehension. So we just I just apprehend, okay, this can happen, that can happen, you apprehend the worst. Your apprehensions that something which never happens also, or it's never going to happen. And when I look back, I realize I was having these apprehensions that ye ho sakta tha, ye ho sakta hai, and that thing doesn't happen at all. And now when I've reached a stage in life, like, I see that there are so many years, so many decades have passed by, and I have been having these apprehensions because maybe of less self-confidence, or a vital that is not so strong, whatever the reasons for that. And then I have been working on this. So I'm just sharing my experience. So what I have read from what the Mother and Sri Aurobindo have written is first, is to stay very much calm from inside. Now that itself is a challenge, to be very calm. I try to do that. And the other thing is what she mentioned about having trust in the divine. So that I have found, I mean, for me, it's like, it's some kind of a, how do you call it? It's some kind of an anchor, or it's some kind of a reassurance that the divine is there, the mother is there. And say I'm driving in a car, and if I'm driving, and then I think, oh, she's sitting beside me on the seat. Or if I have to go and meet somebody, then she's walking with me, the mother, Shri Aurobindo, the divine is walking with me, and they are sitting beside me. If I'm able to do it now, for me, the challenge is to be able to do it every moment. Because what happens when you're in a situation of apprehension or fear, or in an unpleasant situation, or it's going to be unpleasant, you have to meet somebody who's unpleasant, or you have to meet your boss, and you're presuming something is going to happen, he's going to say something. So at times like that, it becomes very easy, at least in my case. Okay, the trust, to be able to trust the divine. I think the challenge is, if I'm able to bring every moment, like when I'm talking to you also here right beside me, I'm having his presence, the divine presence. That trust, that once that comes, then all these things about, to a large extent, I have found my fears or my apprehensions, they come down. They come down to a very to a large extent. And when I look back, I say, oh, yesterday I was having this apprehension that such a thing can happen, and I was in a state of uncertainty or something. And then look, it did not happen. And because of the presence of the divine, or because like that. And then I realized, I was just getting afraid or scared, or for nothing. I mean, it wasn't that significant. Now that can happen, I realized, when I have that 100%. This is my experience. This is what I've been experiencing. And so I have been seeing a progression, a change, that the level of apprehension has come down. कि कोई भी situation ho, you feel, oh, can this happen? Maybe this will happen. So that uncertainty, that fear, that apprehension, it comes down. It has not come down to a total zero. I wanted to come down to a total zero. That a situation where, I'm not comfortable. Also, a situation which is scary, also, I'll be able to be very calm and be very confident that, okay, the divine is there. I think this is what I wanted to share. I don't know if it makes any kind of sense. This is my experience I've had. Thank you, Anu.
Thank you for the sharing, Kalpana ji. It makes absolute sense, and it's it's a beautiful journey where we can see. Yes, Arda ji, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, so I wanted to say that, yeah, it really helps us a lot. Thank you. So I think I'm going to try this every day, and from now on to sort of feel the mother's presence so that the fear doesn't overwhelm me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was beautiful, Kalpana ji. Thank you so much for sharing. It really helps. We all know that the divine is with us, the mother is with us. She's holding our hands and she's walking with us. But, when a situation comes, we tend to go into the shell. Oh, what will happen? What if that thing is not going to happen? What we think is not going to happen? All that, things like march like, soldiers, and it will come in front of us, and it will make us, feel very, very small. But see, we all know, we have faith in the divine, but still, we should practice, as, we all say, every day, each moment, we have to keep practicing. Definitely. Yeah, this will be really, really helpful. Thanks for sharing. Yeah.
Yeah. Shri Aurobindo, we were discussing it in last Friday's study circle, that there was this thing where he says that, your imagination, you become what you imagine, right? Like, it's real, like, and whatever you think, you become. Those were not his exact words. I apologize for that. But, whenever this negativity comes to me, visits me, whenever I see that, no, I think now that one can see as soon as it comes to, I think not even wait for the end, to just offer it right there and then. Like how mother says that you fall sick because you let the disease enter you. And if you see it the moment it comes and you say, oh mother, this came to me, but I don't want it, it's like whatever you decide, here, this is come, and I offer it right there. It's really nice. And I think whatever works, whatever works for whoever, if we can see our fears and apprehensions and find our own ways of taking things lightly, right? Like we are here, we live life too seriously. And for us, the stakes of everything is very high, right? A small thing, a glass breakdown, and it's not, the thought is not, okay, let me clean it. The thought is, who kept the glass here? Why was the glass kept here? Which glass broke? And it's like a common example, but this is what my life comes to, like a broken glass, and spend 1 hour of shouting on that. I can do better than that, right? I deserve to do better than that. There's a saying in the Upanishads, I don't remember the exact, maybe it was from the Gita, and I don't remember the quote, but what it said was that self is your friend and yourself is your enemy. So either I can be my friend and see, if you would, and I say, I really liked it because it's easier to see it in others, right? The things that the others do, I can easily see that, oh, this is what you do that pulls you down. This is what you do that makes you scared. So again, if myself, I am my friend, I would not fall for it again and again. When I see that, okay, 50 times I have thought bad and nothing happened. Next time when I feel bad, I'll, just tell myself, Bhaiya, bahut ho gaya. You've had enough, you've done enough, stop now. So just those small things that I can put in practice every day. But for that, one thing which I'm finding very beautiful in all the sharings is the awareness. I know what stops me, and this is what I've been doing to get over it, right? Like a lot of us don't even reach that stage. So first of all, it's like a lot of blessings that we can reach that stage. And so let's make the self our friend. See, again, what works for us to do it more. And faith, of course, is beautiful, right? Like there's nothing, like we can say she's walking with me, she, how they say, again, I think again, Rumi, I apologize, but, a drop is, the ocean lives in the drop. Like what was that quote, that the drop is not the part of the ocean, but it has the entire ocean in itself, right? That was the thing. So if I can live in that faith, right? Like when I am, divine is in me, what happens, right? What is the maximum? I'll die. I mean, I don't know why we fear death so much, but honestly, I don't know, like what would be sadder, a life not lived well, or just, that, oh, I died, but I died doing nothing because I wanted to be so safe, or I was so scared of doing everything. If we think about it, we know all the answers, we are intelligent, right? But it's just that our fears stop us from reaching the facts of our life. So if we could just, take this little thing today, maybe, or whenever we are ready, that, I don't know, I would always, choose life over not living it, because everything that stops me is stopping me from living it to the fullest. Mother talks about perfection, right? Like, and perfection is a journey. It just goes on and on and on. And if I'm so scared of even taking the first step, how will I even go towards perfection? And perfection doesn't mean, kind of, okay, this is what I studied, this is what I did, and now I have to be perfected in that. That means nothing. That is the conventional collective mind perfection, right? And I think I have been like really blessed. I don't know what was wrong with me or right with me. I changed 4 schools as a kid because I used to get bored and I used to say that I want more friends, and I've learned what I had to. So class 5th, class 7th, class 11th, whatever. I changed two colleges. I've had like several jobs, travel industry, healthcare industry, NGO, guide, Delhi tour guide, like anything. And it's been fun, it's fun. So, and it feels that I've lived so many lives in one life, kind like I've had the opportunity to do that. So not saying that, oh, I'm so amazing, just saying that I deserve more, right? I deserve more than what the society is conventionally able to give me or allow me. And there was this, again, there's something that I read that a conventional opinion is the ruin of the soul. If I just follow conventionals and the collective, I kill my soul kind of in doing that. So again, if I'm a friend, my friend, I will not do that, right? So it's really, yeah. Please, anybody who would want to go next.
My experience has been quite similar. I used to have fears very early in life. When I was probably in school and I went into college, and your mind plays with you a lot and imagines a lot and loves to build castles on it, and it leads to fears. But as I grew up and I came on this path of Mother and Sri Aurobindo, slowly I learned that the lower vital, which plays its games with you and brings in fear, had to be put aside by stepping back and telling it, no, I'm sorry, but you're not invited here. So, quoting myself, I could give a couple of examples. I'm a surgeon, a gynec surgeon, and there have been many instances in my life when I've been at the operating table and I've had to make a choice. And every time this niggling wolf of fear would try to creep up, and I sort of told myself that forget this. You've got to make a choice. What do you want to do? You can choose between going aggressive and saving your patient, or being passive and letting complications take over, or something similar. And I still remember the first time I did it, everybody around me, except my anesthetist, said, don't go. And I went. And I think that was the first day when I went. It was a step in conquering that wolf fear. I just went ahead, did it, sat by the patient the whole night just to make sure that the patient would not be neglected, looked after the person, and it worked. That gave me a strength that you clip the fear, you go by the way your inner voice tells you, follow it. The universe conspires to help you. At the most, what would have happened? My patient would have bled. I would have had to transfuse more. And then I would have had to call in a surgeon, which meant my ego going down. I took those chances. I was willing to let go. So somewhere, you may have to pay a price for it, big or small. But I would say even then, go for it. If your inner voice tells you, go for it. Don't mistake your inner voice for the ego or the vital. But once you know that that little bird within is telling you, go, you go. I also paint. I have started painting since more aggressively since 2 years. And, most of us painters, when we do a watercolor, there is not much of correctability that you can do in a painting. It can spoil. So people don't go aggressive on those paintings. Aggressive in the sense they don't experiment with them. They don't go bold. We don't use contrast colors because of fear of spoiling the painting or the look. And I still remember one of my online teachers said, you forget all those fears. Just think, at the most, what will happen? You have to tear it and trash it. But the challenge lies in correcting it. The challenge lies in not trashing it. And I felt it was the most challenging medium that I worked on because correctability is very challenging in watercolors. So I did it. And again, that conquered fear or hesitation, another step ahead. And a point comes in life when you don't let it come. You just say to it that, no, I think I'm better off without you. I'll take what comes. And it works. It works if you have conviction in yourself with the faith that you thrive on. It's the faith. You have faith in yourself, in whoever you believe in, and corresponding faith in yourself, and you break the norms. Throughout, it works. At the age of 63, I can say very confidently, yes, it works. So that's my journey. And I think I used to always have a dream that I wanted to be a painter, and I fulfilled it. Similarly, you want to be mediocre in medicine, or you want to be extraordinary, or you want to be able to sleep on your pillow at night. That I did what was right at that time, and so you do it. You live the life that you would like to remember later in the evening of your life. And I think that's where your faith comes in, and your spiritual path takes you stronger.
Thank you for sharing that, Jyotsna ji. Two things I wanted to share, one on fear, one on faith. But before that, I want to share something, and I would want anyone who wants to just talk about what it means. So I was transcribing today a prayer that Alokda had spoken about, a talk of him. And there was a line in the prayer which said that, something on the lines of that things are very simple for those who see things from the height of eternity. Or maybe like life is really simple for those who see things from the height of eternity. If anybody can just share what this means to them, that would be lovely. Thank you.
If it's okay, I like to go.
Yes, Mayur, please.
Yeah. So can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Apologies if my voice breaks in between. I have a bad internet today. Uh, Please interrupt me if I'm not audible. So, Taru, what you said right now, I had two experiences today, very small. First one was I picked something very hot and it burned my skin. Another one was I was struggling to wrap myself with a shawl. Okay, so these are very two small incidents. Okay, no one will think like in that particular moment, everyone will struggle related to those moments and will not be able to have a vision apart from those at that particular time. So because you're stuck at that point, so you're not able to think ahead in life. So it's when I started to ponder over these two experiences, I realized it's similar to what we face in everyday life from our till death, when we are a child, when we are a teenager, when we are a husband, when we are a father, or whatever. So we are so stuck up in responsibilities in that moment, doing chores and other stuff, doing job. We're not able to see the bigger picture and make life so complicated and stop realizing how simple it is. So I think that's where I want to conclude is like we are so stuck up in doing the daily chores of our life that we are not able to see past it, and we forget to see how simple our life at the end it is. Yeah, that's all.
Yeah, thank you, Mayur. I remember my child was probably 3 and I was getting him ready for school one morning. And I don't know, it's like a conversation about, he asked me, what do you want to be when you grow up? So I said, I'm already grown up. What do I wanted to be your mama? What do you want to be when you grow up? And he took a minute and he said, I want to be a piggy and do oink oink all day. So, it's like it's funny, but as a child, you ask any child, right, who hasn't been corrupted by us, what do you want to be? And sky is the limit, right? And when does my horizons become really small? I don't know when does that shift happens that I just keep limiting and limiting and limiting and limiting myself, right? That, oh, though this I can't do. Oh, speaking in front of people, no, this I can't do. That I can do. So it's like, what was my potential and how am I living? It's like maybe my father is the king of the jungle and I'm getting scared of every lizard and chameleon and, a bug and a fly because I don't acknowledge that my father is the king of the jungle or my father owns the jungle or so I own the jungle too. I don't live like that. So as we start seeing things factually, a bit away from, all the emotions and the noise that my something in me is always making, I see that the stakes are never that high. Again, I'm just coming on stakes. And especially this, this is something that I experienced very concretely after my NDE. That, no matter what, there was this thing that, so what? This happened, this happened, this happened. I think after something really big has happened to you and you're still living and you're still alive and standing on your 2 feet, you realize that, so what? So much happened and I'm still living. And if this also happens, so what? So I think that's such a important thing to actually have in your everyday life, that what is the worst that could happen, or what if this happens, that okay, I have to speak in front of public and I forget lines and 10 people will maybe, I don't know, just be embarrassed, or I will just have to walk down, but so what? Like, again, because we are so close to where we are that we don't see the big picture. So when mother is saying that each thing is simple for the one who sees things from the height of eternity, for me, that eternity again, is that conversation that I will have with God once I I could have it every day, but just to make a point, like I'll have it say when I leave the body, that why did you not do it? If you wanted to do it, why did you stop yourself? Who stopped yourself? Why did you believe them? So, I would want right now also for him or for to me to say that I want to be a pig doing oink oink, because I don't care what you think. It's like, if that makes me happy, because it's really strange that everything that I ask for is for my happiness. But what if I'm getting that happiness directly, right? Say, for example, if I have a job and that gives me gives me money, and that money will help me buy things, and those things will make me happy. But what if, I'm just like, I don't have a job, and say right now I'm attending this session and this directly is making me happy. I would somehow give more weightage to getting happiness through things than just being happy. It's like we are just amazing. Like, I don't know how we got here, right? Like, how did we get here? It surprises me, and yet it's very grounding and humbling and full of gratitude that we can see a bit, right? A little bit. We can still see that maybe we don't know what is wrong, but I know something is not right about the whole situation, about how the world wants me to run. So it's pretty interesting. And about faith, Josna ji, there's this book that we talk about, Monica and I, we're talking about it a lot these days, A Cave in the Snow by Tenzin Palmo. So not in the book, but once we were hearing some other session from hers, and she said that there was this nun living in the snow, and like in a cave, sorry, for 12 years, like 12 years. I'll just say that she was in the cave all alone. And there was some black stuff that started coming on the cave. Like, it was like, kind of some evil thing that was trying to enter her chamber. And as soon as she saw it, she just looked at it and she was like, what are you doing here? There's no place for you here. Just like Josna ji had shared. And she said it with so much faith and conviction. It's like, I am the son of the king of the jungle. Who can harm me? It needs a lot of faith to be standing on that ground, right? Like, what can happen to me? And then she said that within few seconds that disappeared. That black thing that had appeared just disappeared. It's just so amazing. And we often have shared, Josna ji, you would remember about especially diseases, or say, I had shared once about an ankle sprain when I said that I don't want this anymore, enough of this, right? Like, I let it in and I don't want it, and it went. And I was talking to a therapist, and they said that the moment the mind decides that I don't want this, the body starts working towards healing. It's like how I am the wall around myself. It's a very beautiful realization when you start realizing that, because if I am a wall around myself, I can break, because I am the wall around myself. The world cannot be blamed, circumstances cannot be blamed. I would love to blame them because it's easier. It takes, again, responsibility off from my shoulders. But if either I can blame and be same, right? But if I want to be more or be different or grow more, I will have to take more responsibility. And the first step is realizing that it's all me who's doing anything and everything. Yes, anybody who would want to go next, please.
Yes. Hello, everyone. I'm audible, right? Tanush?
Yes, Sandeep. Thank you. Please, yeah.
Yeah, will not take much time. Thanks. Gratitude. Yes, so we are talking so many things about fear, right? A lot of good experiences also we have heard. And between I was not there, I was in a call actually, anyways. But yes, as mother says, let's clear it. What exactly, mother says, all those fears, whatever XYZ fears, kind of fears, it can be categorized into three major, you can categorize to three types of fears. One is when we are becoming very concerned about ourselves, right? That I, which comes really in forefront. In that case, purely it is based out of ego, as we can understand. Then we get to, that fear comes generally because it is already, so it's always like very, sensitive about my, belonging, my person, what I think, what I am. Those things will come into picture, and then one tend to be get, fearsome. Next thing is, as we all know, some fear of the unknown. Something has not happened, something is going to happen or not going to happen, but as we cannot see the bigger picture, and with a limited vision we are trying to judge, then we we get that fear will definitely come into you. And that is another reason. And the third thing is it is lack of faith, as somebody was mentioning, I think. So it is absolutely, whenever uh, when I think that I am only there and the God or the divine who is with something else for me, and I don't have that required faith, which is unconditional faith, right? So in that case, we are supposed to get fear. And these things, even if in our life we categorize all those kind of fear, even everybody has that, and I have that stage fear. Whenever we are going to talk for something, that fear also comes. So then you have to realize that actually you have to practice. Actually, it is not 1 day or 2 day thing. We need to keep on practicing it time and again. That those things we have to on those days or those moments, how can we entirely be in a divine consciousness, remembering her. Actually, she is always with us. So if that kind of practice we'll do in our day-to-day life, we can practice in every now and then. Whenever we forget, again we start from the zero, and again we continue with that effort, that she is with us, so what to fear, right? When logically also, Shivanda says, logically also we can convince our mind that it is also possible. He also
You got muted, yeah.
logically also he has convinced his mind that what can what can more happen if divine is there, so what to fear. So if this kind of things we can start developing in ourselves, probably that fear factor will slowly and gradually. There are also a lot of mental ego, vital fear, mental fear, and physical fear also, as their mother has clearly told all those things. So slowly, if we can start achieving a little by little in towards that, so probably we can come to conclusion for that, and we can start living a greater life without fear. Yeah, thanks for allowing me. Gratitude to the divine. Thanks, Taruji.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's so nice to know these things, because we come to know about the mechanical nature of things, right? Like sometimes because I am special, I mean, my ego makes me special, and then everything that happens to me is special. So, but when I see categories and I see myself fitting into those categories, that specialness kind of, Christ kind of doesn't have much ground to stand on. And it's easier for me to, in that humility, see how, it's just, okay, I'm just fall, oh, I'm here. So maybe, I can offer and be lighter. I remember the first time, I confronted fear. Like I had gone on a spiritual, retreat, and I say this mystic's name often, Acharya Prashant. It was like a 4-day residential thing, and he made us do a dangal. Dangal as in it was like a kind of a boxing fight, like not really boxing, but a fight, and he had mattresses on and stuff. And my opponent was like 3 times mightier, I would say, than me. And I didn't want to do that. Like, I have some back issues. Like I had some back issues and I didn't want to. And I just told him that, and at that time he wasn't that famous. So they were like just maybe 20, 25 people in the camp. He knew our names. Now he has million followers. So, but he said, no, you have to do it. And I was like, okay. And I did it. And he basically kept coming and whispering in my ears. He was like that, she is bigger, but you are, kind of fitter, and you're like, jump here and try this and try that. So I had to, hold her down and stuff. And it was a beautiful moment. I won the dangal, and 5 minutes in, my back started hurting. And I saw the fear coming in, telling me that I told you not to do it. Now, like, see how your back is hurting, how many dhobi patkas you got from that lady. And now, I don't know, it could be a month, could be 2 months. I can't say anything. You didn't listen to me. I told you not to do it. Something in me was accusing me and blaming me and trying to scare me. And I realized that, I have been scared enough. And I have lived my life, and a lot of fears have ruled me and influenced me. But right now, I have this opportunity to be somewhere in the presence of a master. And here also, do I just want fear to rule me? So I just told, AP Acharya Prashant, I said, can I speak to you for 2 minutes? And he was like, yeah. And I told him what was happening. And I said, I don't want this anymore. What should I do? So, basically what the fear was telling me was that because you did this and this and this, now you will suffer. So he said that no, that had to happen. Okay, you met that person who referred you to the camp, who referred you to me. You are here. I told you to do dangal. And what if right now you are thinking that you had choices, right? But you had to be here. And again, I think in Christianity, there's this famous story in which, somebody is looking back and he sees that God was walking with him, but in the difficult times, they were just a single pair of footsteps in the sand. So he asked God, he asked Jesus that, why did you leave me in those challenging times? And Jesus said that, no, my child, I was carrying you on my shoulders. I didn't leave you. So basically, it was like that God draws a circle where you are standing right now. So let the fear say what they are saying. This had to happen, and you don't know what it would do, how much it would last. You lived, you did the dangal beautifully, and now just stop, don't listen to it. Like, let it go on. And in about 2 minutes, the talking stopped when I stopped listening. Next morning, when I woke up, my back was healed. And it would usually, I would say, the way it was hurting under normal circumstances, because how the anxiety gets to you. That what will happen now? What will happen? I don't know. I have a long drive back. I have this. I have a child. And because I didn't pay attention to that fear, because it was just pulling me down, and it was baseless, because even if my back had hurt so many times, I had no way of saying it would again hurt this time, right? So the crux is that when I saw it and I said, I don't believe in you, like Jyotsna ji was saying, that I don't want to listen to what you are saying. I have more important things to do. Watch other people do dangal. That was fun. So I was healed the next day. It didn't last. Yeah, so that's what I wanted to share on fear. Anybody who would want to go next, please unmute and share. We are kind of at 8:40 anyway. A lot of people haven't spoken. In case there is something you want to share, please unmute. Coming to the back to the topic, it's like one thing that I hear even myself say a lot of times and others as well, that why do I live the way I live? Why do I decide the way I decide? And a lot of time we give the name of excuses, right? Sorry, excuse of habits. Oh, I'm just habitual to do this thing, or it's just an habit. I do it, I can't change it. And habit is nothing but just something that you have been doing for some time, right? So if we start doing the opposite, or if we start doing what I want to do, the habits would reverse, it would change, you will have a new habit. But somehow, it's like, I don't know, again, probably the ego only which says that nahi, ab to ye nahi badal sakta. I cannot change. Now I am this way only. I am like 30, 40, 50, 60 and I can't change. But that's not true. Don't let, fears and apprehensions and habits stop you from the life that you think you deserve or you can or you want to. It could be a pig again, going back to the story, but it's so much more joy in being in a pig, being a pig than, I don't know, like the CEO of whatever, because you want to be the pig, if you want to be the pig, that is. Yes, any more unveiling, any confessions, anything that we can? Just share the screen again. I think we didn't go to the last paragraph. I wanted to do that. When I let go of my false certainties, I meet my expanse and my capabilities. Mystic after mystic after mystic have said, empty your cup, right? Empty your cup. How will you ever be what you can be if you're already holding on to what you think you are? And it's a very humbling, grounding experience when you realize that my certainties were really false. Oh, I thought this. But when you talk to the person after 20 years of thinking that's why they do them, the answer is completely different. Oh, no, I haven't been doing it that, for that reason. It's very interesting. I see I'm not the rigid fabricated mask. Some mother, I think she had, again, maybe we read it last Friday circle or somewhere else, I don't remember, but she said that I find it really hard to change the respectable people. The people who have really high opinions about themselves, those are the hardest that I find to change because they already are too much. So the joy in being nothing is really, a very blissful joy. And I am ephemeral and I am the eternity. So I think the more you see, they are just paradoxes and paradoxes and paradoxes in life. So I am ephemeral, I am momentary, again, so many mistakes. Like Kabir has sung so many songs, like 1 second and you are gone. And yet I am eternity. So I am this as well as that. When I'm everything, what do I be scared of? And where I think again this one of my very favorite things, like somebody had asked mother that why do you love me, something like this, and because I'm a sinner, and she said that I don't see your sins, my child, I see your capabilities, right? I see what you can be. So it's again so beautiful that again I can be my friend and take me, stir me towards where I want to be, and not let these fears, these baseless fears that I've been holding on for lifetimes and lifetimes, to stop me yet again in this life. Die, I will. That is my certainty. But am I living is my question, and my, I don't know, dharma that I need to wonder once in a while or every day or every moment if there is a possibility. There was something that I had once read. I'll just see if I can find it. Meanwhile, if there's any comments, please unmute and I was on mute. Is my screen visible? Okay, so I read this. I had liked it. So I don't remember who this was from. So it's like, let go of your worries and be completely clear-hearted, like the face of a mirror that contains no images. A mirror that contains no images. If you want a clear mirror, behold yourself and see the shameless truth which the mirror reflects. If mirror can be polished to a mirror, if metal can be polished to a mirror-like finish, what polishing might the mirror of the heart require? Between the mirror and the heart is the single difference. The heart conceals secrets while the mirror does not. So these secrets, are not doing us any good. This safety, this protection, they are not doing me good. I mean, it's time for me to wake up and see that the more I'm trying to save myself, the more I'm trying to stay safe, the less I'm living, the less I don't know, it's just sad and painful also when I see that, what I have stopped myself from doing or what I can be and I am not because of, I don't know, what will people say, or that person will get hurt, or, this person will. So yeah, just on and on, but my potential is immense, that is for sure. So we are almost at the end. If there's anyone else who would maybe just want to share if there's something they wanted to do or want to do and what do they think stops them, this is the time. So I'll request, otherwise, yeah, we can almost end the session now in about 5 minutes.
I would like to share one last thought.
Yeah, yes.
It just came to me. We are so blinded by our senses that we forget to live our life.
Yes, absolutely. I'm so concerned about not doing this, that I don't see what is it that I'm doing and where is it taking me. This reminds me again, I apologize, but again, a quote from Rumi only, where it says that, let go of your mind and then be mindful. Let go of your mind and then be mindful. Close your ears and listen. Again, the paradoxes of our life, they just, when you see them again and again, that really, I think, is a very good thing to ground you. So I've got a lot of kids in the room suddenly. So in case anybody has any comments, I'll want to unmute for a minute.
Yes, it's really a challenge to a kind of reverse the false feeling of inconveniency. I am in a state of life, I'm at the third stage, I say, I'm 67 years of age. This year that is going to an end outwardly has been one of falling apart in all possible ways. And falling apart, I mean people whom I love, not there anymore. My second big love passed away. Suffering in my family. And now I'm a kind of, what I've heard someone say, what of kind of life am I living? And I need all my courage to look around in my emptiness and coming back to my feet where I feel carried by the divine. That's what I wanted to share. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And this is basically, this is a topic that we had even touched, like that we had touched last week. That we see that, it's like what doesn't kill me makes me stronger. And how, because, somebody really loves me so much that I am given so many challenges and the pain, because without that, I would not be more than what, I think that was, somehow I feel that, okay, this is it. This is what I can be. And yet you can be so much more. So of course, the challenges, the pain, the suffering, I mean, all that, again, all that you had described, it's humbling, and it's also, it's of course, pain always hurts. And yet it takes you where you want to be, right? Like in addition to when I'm suffering, when I'm in a hard situation, I have to keep seeing that it's taking me somewhere beyond where I have been. So just to have that faith again really, really helps. And, there are so many masters and mystics who have written about this, that, they have begged God to give me pain, because I see that in pain is when I am closest to them.
Till I would like to add that I always feel that the more pain and the more illness and the more suffering that you get on your plate, it's a test from the divine of your strength to be able to take what is given in your plate. The moment you develop that strength to take what is put into your plate, it empowers you. And a little empowering, and then you develop more strength to take further. I would say that, many years ago, when I was hit by by my first illness, when I recovered, it was a life-threatening illness. The first thing I learned was there is a reason why I have survived. And after that, my modus operandi of prayer changed. Earlier, I used to always ask for something, give me this, I want this, I want this. But then after that illness, it changed to give me whatever you want to give me, whatever suffering, whatever you want to put on my plate. But give me the strength to bear what is there. Only give me the strength. And each time something hit me hard, very hard in the gut where it hurts, I always asked for strength, and it empowered me a bit more, like Tarus shared, that you go to one step higher, not 10 steps higher. I would be lying if I said so, Till. But if you go one step higher and then one step higher, and then finally with a few more bashes, you start rising a bit more. So it's just that much, and one definitely moves. I definitely changed my way of prayer and asking, and I started asking for more strength. And I think I am better off.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mayur. You know, one thing, like just the last thing that I would want to say before we end this is that this is also a fact that I don't know what's good for me. You know, what I think, what I crave for, what I desire usually takes me down. And what I felt was my punishment or my suffering or my challenge is that actually, you know, made me rise. So, you know, I think once there was this thing from Mother also where she says that, you know, when you aspire, you say, okay, this is what I want, right? So give me this. There's a lot of me in it. But when you surrender, you say that I have no clue, right? Like I have no clue. So you see where I need to be. I think that's something that one has to remember again and again, that my cleverness has not, this is where we are, right? In our cleverness, we call ourselves, I don't know, Homo sapiens, the king of the planet. See what we are doing to the planet, right? Like what have we done to the planet? It's again a fact, and we keep denying it. So my cleverness has just hurt me, and it's high time I see it. So to know that I don't know is a beautiful knowing. And that is from where I think the journey starts, that I don't know. And if it's up to me, in my want to do the best for me, I've really harmed myself. And now it's you who's taking me wherever that I need to go. I think in the Upanishad also once I'd heard, you know, kind of a sage saying that, you know, when he was asking from God, again, he said the same thing, that because I don't know what is actually good for me, what is bad for me. He said it in a much more beautiful way. So I ask for that wisdom to know that where do I go, right? And I think that was also shared, like one of the quotes that was shared today by Sri Aurobindo, that also had something of this effect. I'm sorry, I just pull it up. So, yeah, so here he says that I learned that when reason died, then wisdom was born. Before that liberation, I had only knowledge. Knowledge doesn't get me so far, right? It's mostly just a ego feed anyways, but that's where most of us start, because again, we feel that mind is the highest that I have, and I don't. I mean, there's so much more than that. Yeah. So I think that's enough for a session today. I mean, although I think this can go on for quite some time. And just give me 1 second. Yeah, I don't know. There was something I wanted to share, but I can't find it. So that's fine. So Thank you so much for joining us in this week's Circle of Harmony and for staying till 9. I mean, thank you again. And it was lovely to have you. Whenever the topic resonates, please do join again. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thanks, Taru, and Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Hopefully, the next year brings us lots of joy, freedom from COVID,
Yeah.
some fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Taru. Thanks.